Teachers of Reddit, what's the dumbest essay assignment you have ever received? Maybe not what you are getting at, but some entertaining approaches to essays included a kid who turned in 3 pages with a sentence on each page. He said it meets the requirements for a 3-page essay, since nothing in the instructions said how many words had to be on each page, and the kid who put 4 pages of Wikipedia quotes, in quotes, and cited, and said that there was no limit to how much of the essay could be quotes. Apparently I get a bunch of future lawyers. Future is in awesome hands. College course, freshman orientation kind of thing. This is what college will demand for students who are not quite ready for 101. Assign them an introductory short essay about anything they wanted, just something they are interested in. Let me see what I am working with. One of the essays read, verbatim, I am interested in blueberry muffin, like how they round on top and ripe on the side, that what I like kept that one on my fridge. Edit. That was the entirety of the essay. It was a pass-fail course, and I was instructed that there were to be 0 failures. I think the actual paper is lost. This was 12 years, 2 moves, and a divorce ago. I had a student turn in a paper that I wrote and published on my own faculty page as an example for the assignment. He found it by Googling my name and the title of the assignment. He didn't notice that it came from my own site. I guess he also didn't ever click on the link in the syllabus that took him straight to said site. Paper. Good times. I worked a short stint, almost a full semester, as a substitute teacher to pay the bills, and some of the sub-jobs I took were multi-day ones that required me to grade papers. During one job, I got a group of 11th graders that were doing a history unit on the Holocaust. One of the assignments was a short essay, research paper in reaction to a video about Auschwitz. One kid in the class wrote for her paper, I don't understand why these people are going to this camp. It does not even look like it would be fun, there is no canoes or campfires. I was not really sure what to do in response, so I set her paper aside from the other students and left a note to her regular teacher to discuss it with her when they returned. For what that district pays subs, I knew I was not getting paid enough to deal with that situation. Honestly, the teacher herself probably was not being paid enough to deal with that situation. I was tutoring a college student who really wanted to write about an infinite energy machine he saw on YouTube as a serious topic for a research essay on renewable power. I eventually told him that if he could find peer-reviewed sources, we could. We looked for pretty much the whole hour. He then explained to me that there are not any because of conspiracy. He should do his report on the second law of thermodynamics. I knew a guy at uni who had an idea that he thought would make him rich. You know how light dissipates, diminishes over distance? Well, I don't remember the exact equation, but somewhere in there you divide by d. He thought that if he could get the distance down to 0, then dividing the intensity by 0 would give you infinite energy. Took me ages to convince him to tell me, because he thought I would steal his idea. I didn't have the heart to correct him. There are dead things here and the soil looks like it's washed away. Rivers here are nice and so is the weather. This is a nice place. Full essay response. It was supposed to be a 10-page paper with charts and graphs and etc. My roommate was the teacher for this, and it's a college course. Damn, but that's evocative. I really wanted to go on. A grade 12 student who never showed up to class and never turned in any homework or assignments tried to breakfast club me with a heartfelt, personal essay on his final exam. He even tried to end it with Mr. Undertown. I know this isn't what you were looking for, but it's what I know and feel. Yes, he capitalized feel. I still failed the shit out of him. Added, just to clarify, the final exam essay question was not about personal experiences. I asked them to either compare or contrast 1984 and Brave New World. His essay did neither of these things. It was about 7 years ago, but IRCE didn't mention either book in any way. I teach history at a local community college, and you would not believe some of the takes people have on historical figures. Being in the deep south, I am used to the old Lincoln was a dictator and Sherman was a war criminal stuff, but ancient Rome was a black civilization. Probably takes the cake in terms of vagueness of sources, and why on earth that needs to be debated in the first place. I once had a student turn in a plagiarized essay. It was super obvious just from the weird shifts in language. They had matched the fonts and everything at least, but I did get a few that didn't. but they also left a hyperlink that they tried to disguise by removing the underlining and changing the color to black. TED for my professor in college, who gave me a pretty standard rubric for grading papers. This one kid handed in a paper with 0 citations, which accounted for 1 of 4 of his grade according to the guidelines I was following. I handed back the papers and I was expecting flack from this kid since most people had gotten in the 90s. He came up to me and said, "So if I had cited anything I would have gotten a 99 instead of a 74. I said yup. He turned around and nodded, got a 100 on his next paper. Follow directions, people. Typical middle school English assignment of answering questions about a story. A student made up everything, the names and events were all different. He essentially wrote a new story in the form of answers to the questions. We had even read the story as a class. He tried to argue with me that he didn't make it up. I had another student copy someone else's answers, and also tried to argue that he didn't. His argument was pretty sloppy though, considering he also copied the name of the student he cheated off of. I knew some people in my grade that bought the teacher's edition of a science textbook off of Amazon. At one point, one of the answers they put down was, "Answers may vary." I had a social studies teacher in 8th grade that told us about her favorite plagiarism on a homework assignment. One student gave his buddy his homework to copy with the added note, "Don't copy everything word for word or she will know at the bottom." The first student crossed that out after the fact to hide it, of course. Not only did his friend copy everything word for word, but he also copied the extra instructions from his friend verbatim and left it in the assignment. It asks like those but comments that aren't gilded but leave in the edits thanking people for gold. In undergrad there was a rich kid who used to pay me to write his papers for a bullshit intro creative writing type class. Anyway, we had a decent arrangement. $75 page with a $50 bonus if I got an A. On one paper he screwed me on the money because the assignment was for pages minimum and I wrote 5. He didn't think he should have to pay the extra page, as it was over the minimum. On top of that, I found out he had gotten an A- and told me it was a straight B. I was super pissed, so for the next assignment, I wrote a 3-page piece on how 70s porn legend John Holmes and his giant penis was his hero, discussed Holmes' tragic life, and then dedicated a page plus to discussing how he purchased a John Holmes endorsed penis pump and how often he worked at growing his small penis. I made no effort to make the paper sound like him, and the assignment had nothing to do with the topic. I just wanted him to go along thinking the work was covered, and then read it and have to write one himself last minute. Welp, he never read it, just turned it in. The following week the teacher handed it back, and made him read it to the class, and we never worked together again. Fuck you, Pete, you still owe me $125. Not a teacher myself, but my chem teacher warned us in the beginning of the year that she makes assignments and posts PDFs online with the wrong answers. Despite this, plenty of kids constantly copied off the PDFs, and so my teacher would easily know they cheated. Had a freshman in a college-level biology course, human sexuality, turn in an essay talking about his first period. We called the guy in just to make sure we were not being gender biased before failing him. Definitely a bio male, definitely identified as male, definitely a plagiarist. Welcome to college, kid. I once had a 9th grade student suggest that death row inmates be sent overseas to fight wars instead of having soldiers do it. That was pretty amazing. What they were asked, a 1,500-word essay about the impact of Milton Friedman on the evolution of monetary policy. There were sub-questions to guide their thinking responses. What I received, a couple of biographical facts about Friedman, followed by a 1,500-word essay about the salmon industry in Chile. I have no fucking clue where that came from, but thanks to needing to grade on a curve, they still got 50%. Students were asked to write a literacy narrative, where they discussed something or someone who impacted them as a reader and a writer. In his first draft, one of my students wrote about having sex with a girl in the closet of his high school's band room. In my feedback, I reminded him that the topic had to relate to his literacy. He added a paragraph in his next draft explaining how it made him a better writer, because it gave him a topic for the paper and it improved his ability to be descriptive, because he told the story in vivid detail to many of his friends. In 8th grade we had to write a short essay on who our biggest hero is. Most people wrote their mom, dad, favorite uncle, etc. I wrote about Captain America, got a detention for that one. Edit. Feel like a lot of the people who replied are maybe missing the point here. I was the asshole in this situation, not the teacher. I knew someone in high school who got drunk before doing an assignment on future careers he would be interested in. He wound up writing about how he would like to be a porn star. After the teacher graded it, he took the moron aside and asked him just what the hell he was thinking, and he had to try and explain himself without mentioning that he would been drunk because he underage. I still don't understand why he turned in the assignment in the first place. Surely a 0 was better than that. I used to do stuff like that in high school. I just figured no one was taking the subject matter seriously, only the writing. I did a presentation about how my dream job was to work at McDonald's. I made a high B. Obligatory, not a teacher, but post. My friend in high school was supposed to write a research paper on General Lee. Instead, he wrote a 12-page paper about the General Lee car from Dukes of Hazzard, complete with pictures and quotes. I was impressed when he received a D. My 11th grade history teacher told this story about a test he gave on one occasion. When the papers were handed in, it was obvious that one student cheated. His answers matched the answers of the person sitting next to him perfectly, including spelling errors and other small details. If the source student wrote President Lincoln as an answer for question number 6, then the cheater wrote President Lincoln as the answer for number 6 as well. Each pair of answers matched, except for the last one. As with most tests, questions grew more difficult as it progressed. The last one was especially difficult, and the source student didn't know the answer, so he wrote I don't know. The cheater wrote I don't know either. Thanks for watching. Share your story in the comment.